And now, Coast to Coast RIA presents the Experts Corner with Pete Asmus. Now get ready to go make something happen, because in this series, it's all about actionable information with different experts, strategies, and solutions from around the country. You won't be able to help but catapult your life into a new direction. So get ready, because we are about to begin.
And now from Coast to Coast, your host, Pete Asmus.
All right, so today is a special edition of our Experts Corner. Tonight's all about assisted living facilities. Our guest host tonight is Gene Guarino, good friend of mine. I've known him for, years now. And we've been doing this actually for about a year now too, right, Gene?
It has been about a year. It's amazing.
It's crazy to me to think that it's been that long. So, guys, get ready to have a good time tonight. Gene has a ton of great information, and there's going to be a lot of actionable things that you can actually do. So get ready and get excited, because this is about to get started. Are you ready, Gene? I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, bud.
I'm ready. Hey, by the way, do you want to interject in between, or do you want me to go straight through?
You can go straight through, and if I have anything, then I will say something. How about that?
You got it.
Okay, perfect.
All righty. There it is. Show my screen. Bam. All right, just want to confirm, can you see my screen? I hope so. You let me know if you can.
I can see your screen, yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. All right, this is Gene Guarino. We're going to begin this presentation on the assisted living facilities. Highly encourage you to grab a pad and a paper and a pen, something you can write with and write on. I'm going to give you a lot of great information tonight, show you how you can start doing this immediately and how you can get trained to do it properly. So the first thing I want to do is, for those of you who don't know me, is just give you a little bit of background on myself so you know who I am. I am a certified financial planner in the U.S. as well as in Australia. Bought my first piece of real estate at the age of 18, so I've been doing this for a long, long time. My first commercial real estate was the age of 25, and I've been doing it ever since. I've had 16 businesses over the past 35 years, been a professional musician, record companies, small recording studio, done real estate. I'm a certified financial planner. I've trained over 250,000 people worldwide, and I've mentored thousands and thousands. So I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I've been educating people through books and radio as well as personal mentorship and training. Been married for 28 years to the love of my life. Her name is Mona. There she is on the right. I've got 4 wonderful kids, and my youngest member of the family is my granddaughter. She was born in August, and we're just so happy to have her with us. And as a matter of fact, there's a picture of her on her birthday, and there she was just a little bit after, full of character, full of life. And I like to start the presentation with this because assisted living, when you have a baby, obviously you have to assist them in everything. And as we grow up, we get more mature, more self-sufficient. And then as we get older, we become more in need of care once again. And that's really what this segue is. We're going to be talking about those people who are older, typically 65, 75, 85 years old, and they need more help. So this population is exploding. We know because of the baby boomers that were born between 1946 and 1964, I believe it is. So those people, that population just exploding, 77 million baby boomers. That means mathematically about 10,000 people a day will be turning 65 for the next 15, 20 years. More importantly, about 4,000 people a day will be turning 85. And I point that out because really the person who moves into an assisted living facility isn't ready for a nursing home. They don't need medical care. They can't stay at home and take care of themselves completely. It's somewhere in between. So not everybody who's 65 or 75 or even 85 needs that kind of help. But obviously, the older somebody gets, the more likely. I actually had somebody call today for their dad who's 101 and just fell recently. So now he needs some assistance, 101. He could last for 5 years. You don't know. He could last for 5 days, too. We get that as well. But so this just gives you a little graphic example of what's happening with our population as it ages. The number of people that are 65 or older is growing rapidly, and it's exponential since 2010. By 2030, there'll be well over 70 million people in that age category. So the question really is, how can you best benefit from this mega trend? It's unstoppable, so how do you benefit from it? Well, we're going to talk about specifically owning and operating an assisted living facility. That's certainly one way, and I think the best way. But for some of you, you might be saying, I just want to own the real estate, and I'll lease it to somebody who runs the assisted living facility. As a matter of fact, Pete, Ivan, and myself were talking earlier today about a partnership with a person, a company that is interested in doing exactly that.
Yes.
Purchasing the real estate and then leasing it out, right? So that would be a cool way to go for somebody who doesn't want to come up with the finances or doesn't have it. And we could talk about that later. Another is to be a lender on the real estate and lease it to the assisted living facility. So the lender, they can make money. In addition, you could be a lender on the real estate and on the assisted living facility, the startup cost for the business. Or you could invest in a fund, kind of like a mutual fund, but it would be specifically investing in assisted living facilities. But tonight we're going to focus on the first one, own and operate an assisted living facility. Now, for some of you who think bigger than that, just instead of doing just one, you're saying, how many can I do and how can I cash out? This is an article right here. It is in February talking about an assisted living facility that was 55 units, so that's a larger one, that was being sold to an investment company. And the investment company, Spring Creek Fruitland Assisted Living Facility, being sold to the IRET Properties. The point is they were selling it for a very nice sum, a sum that's about $130,000 per bed, per unit. So 55 times 130 comes out to the $7.1 million. So if you had 5 or 10 people living in the home could be worth a lot of money with the business intact. I just wanted to point that out because if you're thinking bigger, you could sell it off, do 5 of these and sell them. But I'm getting ahead of myself, so here we go. How big are these facilities? Let's start with some basic education. A nursing home is a large medical facility. That's not what we're talking about. It's what most people think about when we talk about assisted living, but it's not a nursing home. It's not a medical facility. It's not independent living communities, and you see a lot of those as well, 55 plus, where there's an apartment complex with shared space, shared family room, shared dining, and so on. It's not that. What it is, it's not quite the assisted living facility, even though I use that name. That's typically larger, 40, 100, 200 people. Really what we're talking about is assisted living care homes. And now notice I changed the name from facility to care homes because this is really the sweet spot that I focus on. This is a home in a residential neighborhood. Could be a gated community or not, but it's a home just like the one that you live in. Might be a little bit bigger than yours, might be single level, might have a large number of bedrooms and or bathrooms, but it's in a residential community. It might house 5 or 10, maybe up to 20 people in it, but it's not going to be 100 people and it's not going to be independent living. They're going to have some help, but it's not a nursing home. So to give you an idea, the common questions that I get are, can I do this if I'm not in the medical field? The answer is absolutely yes, because it's not a medical facility. Second question I get is, can I use a home that I already own for this? You might have a rental property right now. You're saying, well, you mentioned the idea of being able to make $5,000 per month net. Can I use a home that I already own? The answer is possibly, and we'll talk about what makes a good home for assisted living. Another question I always get is, well, what about liability? If you have older people, they get sick, they die, what about that? Well, suffice it to say, you do need to mitigate and you need to reduce as best as possible the liability, but you're going to reduce it as best you can. You're going to insure against it, and then you're going to make sure that you're doing the right things to protect your assets. This is all a part of what we'll teach you to do. And now the biggest question people have is, how much money can I make? So we're going to get to that very specifically. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go through some numbers on a real deal, a real transaction. Best way to learn is by doing it for real. So we'll go through real numbers so you can see it. So let's start with this one, 10,000. I already gave you this number and said 10,000 people a day are turning 65. But that also is the amount of money that you could make per month on a net cash basis for just one assisted living facility. So this is certainly worth learning about. Now, when I say 10,000, it might be 5,000, could be 12,000, but 5 to 10,000 per month net is what we're talking about typically. And I talk about the Silver Tsunami because the segment of our population that is 80 plus is the fastest growing segment of the total population. The growth rate is twice that of those who are 65 and over, and almost 4 times that of the total population. In the U.S., this group represents 10% of the older population, and it's going to more than triple from 5.7 million 2010 to over 19 million by 2050. So the growth is exponential. It's a mega trend that you must take advantage of. Now, men versus women. When we're first born, there's a few more men than women, but as we get older, men kind of die off and women take over. That's the way of the world. So by the time we're 80, by the time we're 85 plus, in an assisted living facility, there's 4 men for every 10 women, and that's pretty much the ratio. If I have a home that's licensed for 10, there's typically 2, 3, men, the rest are going to be women. That's typically what it is. So I just wanted to give you that fact, but it's not charts and graphs and numbers, it's people. Like Dolores right here, she's been with us for 7 years, and as a resident there in the home, she could be there 7 more. She needs help, she needs care, and we provide that for her. We have Bob on the right here, and Bob on the left, and Bob on the top, the 3 Bobs. We have, 3 generations of Bobs. And Bob on the left is a fireman. When he works, it's 24 hours on and 48 hours off. He is so thankful that we're there to take care of Bob. So when he comes in and he's got a check for thousands of dollars at the beginning of the month saying, thanks for taking care of Dad, I know I'm helping not just Bob on the right, but also Bob, his son, and his grandson. So it's really, the concept is the idea of being able to do good and do well. Do good to help other people as well as doing well financially. And Hortensia here in her mid-90s right here, and her son and daughter on the right and left, again, they can't take care of her, but we can, and that's what the assisted living facility is all about. So this concept, and I think you should write this down, do good, do well, because really, money is money. But if you really get to the point of thinking about it, what are you doing and why are you doing it? A lot of people just run on this treadmill. They're working 40, 60, 80 hours a week, helping somebody else reach their goals. Who are you really helping? And are you really reaching your financial goals? Are you really helping people the way that you want to? That's one of the things that I've gotten into this for, is I want to help other people, not just make a lot of money. As a matter of fact, with all the real estate I've done in the past 30 years, I've sold everything, and the only thing that I do now is the assisted living facility, because I can do good and do very, very well. So let's go into it farther. What is an assisted living or residential care home?
Hold on real quick, Gene.
Sure.
I'd like to really for you to explain that again. You're saying, and I just want this to be pointed out, that of all of the real estate over the last 30, excuse me, 30 or 35 years that you've done, golly.
You got my cough. That
I know.
was the cough I had for a month.
That's crazy. That that you've sold it all to go into assisted living. That's how good that strategy is, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I want to point out that one of the reasons that company that Gene was talking about, that's coming to us looking at us to go and put something together for them, is a fact that they right now are doing about 200 cash flow properties a month that they put together. They acquire the home, they rehab the home, they put a tenant in the home, and then they turn around and sell it to a cash flow investor. And their thought was, holy cow, here's a strategy that if we can get this mastered, we can turn around and do a little bit more work. You know what I mean? But not completely different. You're still buying that house. It's just I'm able to do something different with that house that produces substantially more money. And so that's why they were coming to us, because they want us to put together like 20 or 30 of these things a month to be able to turn out, because there are people all around the world that are interested in having cash flow properties. And here's a strategy that you take a single family home that typically all you could do with that is one tenant. And if they leave, you're done. You're not making any money until you get somebody else in. But with this strategy, if you have 10 in there, you're making money. If one leaves and you have to wait to get another one in, you're not zeroed out. You're not losing money at this point. You're still making money. And that's really why these cash flow investors are going crazy over this strategy. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I just wanted I got excited a little bit.
No worries. All right. So the assisted living, and again, I say residential care home because in certain states like Oregon, that's what they refer to it as, a residential care home. So there's different names in different states, and Pete knows that as we've traveled around the country and shared with people. So a group residence for seniors providing assistance in their activities of daily living, or ADLs. That's what it really is. Now, this is what most people think it is, but this is actually a typical nursing home, large medical facility. That's not what it is. And it's not this, the Golden Girls, 4 mature women living together, taking care of each other. It's somewhere in between those two. They need help, but it's not full-blown medical facility. They can't take care of themselves. They need some help. So it's somewhere in between. What's it look like? Just like these. And the top right there, that's in Scottsdale. Bottom right, that's in Florida. These are homes that are all around the country that are assisted living facilities or residential care homes. They look like a normal house. You would have no idea that there's a number of adults living in that house full time. You just won't see the typical kids and bikes out in front or basketball hoop, because that's not what you're going to see. So let's go through the numbers, because I kind of take it for granted that everybody understands how good this is financially. But let's go through it, and when I say do one deal and make, let me go through the numbers. Let's assume for a minute that you're getting $3,000 per person per month. Now, when I say $3,000 per person per month, that's one person who's living in my home, and they have 9 other people living there as well. So where did I come up with the number of 3,000? Well, I didn't just pull it from air. Actually, in 2013, the average is $3,450 per month per person. That's a one-bedroom, single occupancy. Now, if they're sharing a room, it's going to be a little less. If it's the master bedroom, it's going to be a little more. You can see on the right it says maximum $9,500. I know people in Scottsdale, Arizona that are paying $10,000, $11,000, $12,000 per month to live in a home. So it depends on the quality of the home, the location of the home, and so on. But the nationwide average is $3,450. Here's a map showing you the different prices on an annual basis around the country. So if you look over at the top left, we got Washington at $51,000. That would be what, about $4,000 a month, a little bit more than that. And then over on the, what do we have? One of our most expensive right here.
What's the one that's like
$12,000?
$12,000?
Right to the center, we got Texas. Well, you're not going to see as an average, it won't be $12,000. Even in Scottsdale, you might have 10 people living there, but one person's paying $12,000 and the others are paying $5,000. You know. So
No. I meant annually, because there was one on there that said the least amount was $718. Well, $718 times 12 months. Let's just say that there was tax involved. I don't see anything on this map that says $12,000 for a minimum.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, because these are the averages right here. Like in Alaska there on the way bottom left, I know it wouldn't be there geographically, but it's pictured way in the bottom left, says 72,000. That's 6,000 a month. The 718, and you're referring back to this one here, 718, that is the minimum, and that's probably what the state pays in a certain state. First of all, if that were the case, I would never do it in that state, that location. That's number one. So
right.
We're going to stick with the average, and my point to you is that no matter where you are in the country, you can certainly do this. There are certain states that will be better than others financially, but you know, you can certainly do it in your own state. Looks like Rhode Island over there is what do we have? 49,000. Connecticut is 60,000. Those are annual. Delaware is 66, so that's 5,500 a month. So you can get up there quite a bit. So the U.S. average is 41,400 per year. So that would be $3,450 a month. All right, so when I say 3,000, that's a pretty good round number. Licensed for 10. Some states you can have licenses for 12 or 15. And so let's just say licensed for 10. That would be $30,000 a month in gross income. Now, you are going to have expenses, the normal expenses, and I'm going to go through them with you. Those expenses are going to come right off the top after the gross income. So we're going to call that overhead, and I'm going to give you a good idea of what those look like. These are all the typical expenses that you would have in your own home, your own personal expenses: cable, internet, food, activities, landscaping, utilities, maintenance. Then there's one called marketing right there in the middle. Now, that's a little different because to get residents in, we need to get the word out. So we might spend money on brochures or business cards. Caregivers, those are the people that are taking care of the residents. You're not going to do that. You're going to hire people to do that. Facility manager, that's the person that's taking care of the whole facility, overseeing the caregivers. Again, you're probably not going to do that. You're going to hire somebody else to do that. Business license, property taxes, liability insurance, and each one of those has a cost to it. So the home that I'm describing here might have about $15,000 in total business expenses. So if we take that $15,000 and we subtract it from the $30,000, that's going to still leave us with a good chunk of change, but there's one more expense we didn't talk about, and that's the real estate. Now, if you already own the real estate free and clear, there is no mortgage or lien or payment on it. There is no debt service. If you don't own the home and you want to buy one and you need to borrow money to do that, that would be called debt service. That's the loan. That's what would come out next. If you don't own the home, don't want to own the home, you just want to lease the home, and you're spending $3,000 a month in rent, that would be the next thing to come out. So I'm just going to put in a hefty $5,000 for debt service or rent for the home. So $30,000 minus $15,000 in overhead minus $5,000 for the real estate itself to own it or rent it still leaves you with $10,000 net per month. Now that's net income per month. That would be $120,000 annual. That is a huge amount of money. Most people who are listening in the U.S. today, what is the average household income? $50,000, $52,000, something like that. To be able to do one deal and to make twice that is pretty good. Also considering the fact that you don't have to work 40, 60, 80 hours a week to make that. As a matter of fact, if you're putting in 5 or 10 hours a week, that would be a lot. So it depends on how involved you want to be, but you can certainly do this for 5 or 10 hours a week, and that would be your time input into this. So that's what we're looking at, and I'm going to get to a deal that I did recently so you can see numbers and exactly how they work and exact specific numbers. But there's really 5 different levels of homes. You can get into high-end homes, might look like this mansion right here. You can get into low-end homes, might look like these trailers down here. Now that's kind of the top and the bottom, and either one of those could be assisted living. But let's start on the top. Right there, that mansion itself is gorgeous, and it's not actually an assisted living facility. That's Rod Stewart's personal residence. So he's old enough to have people taking care of him full time, and probably does, between maids and cooks and whatever. Now down on the bottom there, you could do it in that type of or that quality of home. It's just not what I'm looking to do. So really the sweet spot is what I call level 3 and level 4, and that's what I focus on. So I wouldn't go lower than 2, and then the high end 5, you can do it, but it just might be a little pricier. You're kind of, getting into more of the elite clientele where it'd be a lot easier to fill a home with level 3 and level 4. So how can I finance this? That's a big question that people have, and as I say, when you finance something, you don't have to borrow money. If you have cash, you certainly can do it there too. But the idea of making money, can you actually make money? Well, you can't make money. All you can do is attract money. You can't physically print it. You can't do anything other than attract it. You attract it by trading your hours for dollars or by getting investors to say, yes, I like your idea and here's my money. So attracting the money and getting the money that you need is a key skill that we'll teach you how to do. Here's a couple of the investors that I work with from the West Coast, a physician and his wife, and as they retire, they just want good, solid, secure income. So giving a loan to me so that I can use the money for the assisted living facility is a very safe loan for them, and it gives them a good, solid rate of return. What are the alternatives? 0.25% in the bank, 3% in a CD, 4 or 5% in a bond, or maybe they get 6 or 8% from me secured by a piece of real estate in a beautiful area that has a tremendous cash flow business attached to it, and they also know that they're also doing good and doing well. So raising money and giving them a good rate of return is very important, but it's not just the rate of return, it's the opportunity for them to participate in this, helping other people as well. So let's go through a case study, and let's assume we've got $500,000 that we're going to use to buy the real estate, renovate the real estate, start up the business, carrying costs along the way, and then the debt service that would be entailed for those first months as we're getting the business up and running. Now, $500,000 for all of that. If you're in California, that'll buy you a single bedroom or a studio apartment, something like that. If you're in the southeast of Mississippi, that would be the governor's mansion. So it's different prices for different areas of the country, but let's just use this generic number for right now for these examples, $500,000. Now, this is the other side, the income on the business. We're going to use the generic number of $3,000 per person, licensed for 10, $30,000 gross. After all expenses, you're netting $10,000 a month. So those are the numbers we're going to use, and I'm going to show you some examples of how you could potentially finance this. First, if you were to purchase it using your own funds, that would be pretty simple. You stroke a check for the $500,000. There is no debt service at that point. Now, when I say no debt service, you don't have to pay yourself back. You don't have to charge yourself an interest rate. You could even potentially borrow it from your IRA, self-directed IRA, and have a loan that goes back and is paid with interest to it. Or you could use somebody else's IRA for that matter and borrow the money from them and paying it back to their IRA. There's all kinds of money out there. It's just learning what are the sources and how to attract them. But let's again use the numbers. We got $500,000 invested. So there is no debt service if we're using our own fund. That means we're actually netting $15,000 a month. Times 12 months is $180,000 a year. So if you were to invest $500,000 and if you were to earn $180,000, the return on that investment, ROI, would be 36%. And I just want you to pause and think about that. In about 3 years, you would double your money. 36% annual rate of return. Even the stock market hasn't done that well in the last 3-4 years. It's been up huge, but the reality is this is something that you could get into and do and consistently provide that, and you have clientele that are literally dying to get in. I don't want to say it that way too much, but I mean, I'm in the business. I can do it. It's okay. The reality is people are getting older all the time. They need to move into facilities like this, and they're going to pay somebody $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month to live there. It's either you, me, or somebody else, but you decide if you want to participate. Now, some of you are saying, well, that's great, Gene, but I don't have $500,000, so what can I do? Well, let's lower the ante a little bit. Let's say you put down 25%. You need 5, but you're only putting up 125. That could be your own retirement account, a 401k that's transferred into a self-directed IRA, and we can show you how to do that. And now you use that money, and that 125 is your 25% down payment. Borrow the rest, even an SBA loan, Small Business Administration, $375,000 at 6% for 25 years. Notice the interest rate's a little higher than a home loan. The term is a little bit shorter than a home loan, but your debt service would be about $3,000 a month for the debt service. So we're making $10,000, but since we're only spending $3,000 on the debt service, you got an extra $2,000 that goes in your pocket. So that's $12,000, 12 months. That's $144,000 annual income. If you invest $125 and you earn $144, the return on your investment is over 100%. It's 115% to be exact. Now just look at those numbers for a minute. Let me say this clearly so you really get the impact of this. Some of you right now could retire sooner than you ever thought possible, with more money coming in than you ever dreamed possible. How many of you could get by on $10,000 a month? How about $12,000 a month? And some of you right now already have $125,000 sitting in an IRA. It could be in a 401k. It's probably in mutual funds or stocks. You're looking at the stock market go up 200 points and down 200 points. You're hearing the news, and they're losing planes, and they don't even know what's going on, and you're wondering what to do. The stock market could go down 30% in the next month. Absolutely. We haven't even had a 10% correction in well over 2 years. That's just not even heard of. We're way out of whack right now. But this right here, what I'm describing, is the real deal. It's bricks and sticks. It's human beings living in a location where they're going to live for the rest of their life. And they're willing to pay thousands of dollars to do it. So this is money that you certainly can be making, and many of you could retire right now just using this strategy, using your own retirement funds. Do this in the next 6 months, and you can quit your job and live happily ever after. Well, let's do one more, because some of you are saying, Gene, I don't have any money. My credit's horrible. I had a foreclosure or a short sale, and my dog ran away, and I'm drinking a warm beer here on St. Patrick's Day. What am I going to do? All right, well, first of all, stop focusing on what you don't have and start focusing on what you do have. First of all, you're here tonight learning. You know more about assisted living than 95% of the people out there. And if we train you to do this, you're going to have the contacts, the connections, the access to money, the access to resources and answers that nobody else will have. But you bring a lot to the table potentially. If all you need is money or cash, well, partner with it. Partner with somebody who's got the money and or the credit that you need. Let's say you paid somebody an outrageous 12%. 12% for the $500,000. I'm sure you can find somebody who's willing to lend you $500,000 for 12%. That would be a payment of $5,000 a month, which is pretty interesting because that's exactly what I calculated at the beginning. It still gives you a net of $10,000 a month, but you have zero invested. So if you've got nothing invested, but you're making $120,000 a year, what's your rate of return? It's infinite. You've got no money invested. Anything you make is an infinite rate of return. So we can even show you how to do it with none of your own money. The next deal that I show you, I'm going to lay it all out, pictures and everything, none of my own money. I even put money in my pocket at the closing, and it gives positive cash flow every day. So we'll take a look at this, but how fast can I do this, Gene? I mean, that sounds great. How fast can I do it? Well, let me go through it. Number one, the slow way is to buy raw land, design a building, build it from scratch, 12 to 24 months. Don't recommend that. Second way, buy an existing home in a neighborhood, nice home already, remodel it, get it licensed. You cut your time in half, 6 to 12 months. The best way, golden bold, buy an existing licensed home. There's homes out there for sale right now, just like there's real estate for sale and businesses for sale. People who are mismanaging the property and don't know what they're doing. They got into it for the wrong reasons. They're trying to manage it themselves, and they don't know what they're doing. Now, you're not going to see them listed on LoopNet or the MLS or business brokers, because if that person has a residential care facility, they've got an assisted living care home, they don't want to be blabbing it to everybody, because then the residents are going to freak out and want to leave. So they don't even know what to do, yet they're highly motivated. So I have some secrets on how to find those, and we go out and see those. And actually, when we do the field training, and Pete's been there with me, we go out and see these homes that are for sale, and sometimes the students buy them right then and there. But
Yeah,
buying an
it's
existing
awesome.
home, yeah.
On
3 to
our
6
last
months.
trip, we had what, 3 people? 3 people get into properties?
Yeah, one took an existing home that they had, and we went through all the details to find out it was perfect for it. So he's renovating it for it. Another one was a total business that was ready to rock, and that was great. And then the third one was these guys who were buying a home, then it's going to be renovated and so on. So absolutely, this is something that everyone can do. And I think a lot of that, Pete, I mean, you're all about not just telling people about it, but showing them how and doing it with them and so on. And I think that's what it takes for all of us, is somebody who's willing to hold their hand and walk them through. So that's what we do. That's why we partnered together on this.
That's right.
All right. So buying the property, leasing it to the business. If you just want to own the real estate, you don't want to be a part of the business, you can do that. You can be that part of the equation. Or you could be the bank and just earn 4, 6, 8% starting day one. Or you can pass it up and watch me do it. Pete do it. Somebody else do it. Totally up to you. All right. So now, how can you learn more? We do have a training. It's a 3-day training in Phoenix, Arizona. The next one coming up, by the way, is April. I want to make sure I get this right. April 11, 12, 13, second weekend in April. We do have a few spots for that at the end of this. I'm going to give you an email and sign up information. If you're interested, sign up tonight, so that way you've got a spot, make your travel arrangements, and get yourself there. We'll tell you more about that later. But what's on the agenda for those 3 days? Day one, it's really about being in the classroom and learning all the nitty-gritty. I don't need to stretch this out for a week or two or give you a book that's 3 inches thick. I'm going to tell you exactly what you need to know in a day. Day one, that's what we do. How to find these, how to fund them, how to license them, how to fill them, how to get the right staff for them. Day two, we go in the field, because we can sit and look at books and crunch numbers all day long, but getting in the field, going into operating businesses where you get to meet the caregivers, meet the residents, meet the facility managers, see how this works, see the license on the wall and see the menus, and maybe even eat lunch while you're there. Then we're going to go to homes that are in the process of being renovated, homes and assisted living facilities that are available to buy. Then on day three, we put it all together. We bring back the information that we found out in the field, and we crunch the numbers, and we put into action what we've learned. We either do the deals, or we say why it's not a good deal, or we go out and find the money, but we put it together. And we do that day one, day two, day three, and we've been doing this like a cookie cutter, and it's working really well. So if you're serious, you'll want to get on the fast track and do exactly that.
And here's the other thing, is that at every single one of these, we've had opportunities. At every single one we've done. We haven't had one training where people have shown up and it's like, well, we'd love to show you something that's available, but there isn't anything. You know what I mean? We've always had more than enough opportunities.
That's a good point. And the other thing, too, is that in the room, there's going to be people with money who want to lend the money. There's going to be, we bring in private investors. We find some people who are right in the room who are saying, I have the money. I just want to partner with somebody. I've got the money who wants, let's partner
I don't
together.
want to do the work.
And
like
then we've
there's
got other
that
people
come
saying,
that just want to
work.
learn the concept so that they can have somebody else do the legwork.
Right. And so they partner up together, and it's nothing formal. It's just you meet somebody if you like them, if you're digging each other, and you got some commonalities, and you want to partner together. Fine, we'll help facilitate that, but it's nothing that we're going to make you do. If you want help, it's there for you. So this is one of the homes that we saw in the last one, and I want to start by just giving you a few visual examples. As you look at this home, it looks kind of nondescript, and it's in a decent neighborhood in Mesa. It's reasonable, it's fine, but it's been operating as an assisted living facility for about, I think it was 9 years at that point.
Yep.
Licensed for 10, virtually never had a vacancy because all they accept is the clients that the state pays for. And people are, clamoring to get into these because the state pays about $1,600, $1,700 a month. Times 10, you've got a steady $16,000, $17,000 a month in revenue. He also had his expenses down to a T, where his expenses were so tight, it was amazing. And he was turning over everything, his wisdom, his books, his clients, his clientele, his lead source, everything. And we had this pre-negotiated. He was asking $275,000, but I had pre-negotiated it down to $230,000. So you could walk into this business day one, and you were cash flowing $4,000 to $6,000 a month. That's pretty sweet. That's after your mortgage payment and everything. So here's another one here. This one was listed. We said this is a good potential.
Can you repeat that again? Because I want people to understand the opportunity that was there. How much was it to buy? It was listed at $275,000. You went in and negotiated it down to $230,000.
right?
For us to be able to go in and acquire 230 to acquire, and then it was generating 16,000, and you could obviously change things, right? You could go to go, no, I don't want state anymore. You could screw that system up, but I think the real key to his whole thing was he literally had it down to a system. So yeah, it wasn't a huge moneymaker, but again, $4,000 a month. I mean, man, you're not, that's a single family home,
Right. And the
right?
real estate's worth maybe 175, something like that. So for the business, we had negotiated it so the whole thing together was going to be the 230. So, and I'm not saying we're going to find one this price range or this good of a deal, if you will, every time, but that's what I strive to do when people come out for the training. You made the effort to be there, so I'm going to bring the best I can to you. So
It's just awesome, man. And I just, I want people to understand that this is different. This isn't a training that you go to that all of a sudden it's like, hey, well, check this out. And then now here, let us show you this other package that you can purchase, because now that's where you're really going to learn everything. This is it. This is it. There is no other training. There is no other, like, that's not how we operate. So if this is the first time you've ever heard us, this is the first time you've heard of Coast to Coast, understand that every training we have, that's it. That is what you get. There is nothing to, it's not like a lead in. It's not like a bait and switch or anything like that. This is meant to literally get you moving forward in assisted living, which means we've got to show you opportunities, give you the support, and give you all the knowledge so that you can do it. Now, you still have to do it, but does that make sense? Does that make sense, Gene?
Yeah.
That made sense, right?
Yeah. And I'm going to segue back to that at the very end when we talk about the 3-day and what does it take to participate. But I'm going to segue right back to that. I think it'll be very helpful. So just to give a few more examples, this one here is listed on the MLS, and this is a property that's 5,100 square feet, 9 bedrooms. It says right here bedrooms plus 9. So it was really, I think, 7 or 8 bedrooms and 6 baths, something like that. But, you know, beautiful home, just absolutely gorgeous home, 825.
Love that.
And the backyard, just gorgeous. Any one of us would want to move right in there, well done, and so on. But this is the one that the two guys are looking to buy. $795 is the price they've negotiated. God willing, they're going to close in the next week or two. I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now. But
well,
anyway,
this is different though too, because things take a little bit longer. This is the house also that has the walkie-talkie system throughout it. It has a little that little box thing.
You need a Segway just to get around on the inside. It's huge.
Yeah, it's huge.
So. And actually, the plan is to take, you can see way over on the right-hand side, there's a garage. There's actually two-car garages expanded, so it's really 4-car garages, a massive amount of space. That's going to be converted into 4 bedrooms with 2 shared bathrooms, Jack and Jill bathrooms. So this is going to end up with 11 bedrooms and 7 or 8 bathrooms, and it'll still have room to grow. So it's just, and it's in a great area.
Yeah, it is.
So, yeah. So it's very nice. This one right here, this is a project that I'm working on right now. This one here, $490. That was the negotiated price. It's 4,800 square feet. Do I have the listing here? No, 4,800 square feet, 5 bedrooms, 5 baths. And I'll show you a few pictures of the interior in just a minute because I have a bathroom picture I'm going to show you. But this right here, we're doing about $70,000 in renovations on the interior. You don't have to go to that extent, but I also want to give you a little tip. If you're looking at the house and you're saying, well, $490, I can't afford that, well, maybe you can just rent it. So this is a website you can go to called Rentometer. So RENTOMETER, rentometer.com. Plug in the address, plug in 5 bedrooms or whatever it is, and then put in the rent that you're looking to pay, and it's going to give you comparable rents in that area. So green means that's really cheap, red means that's expensive. So I plugged in $2,500, and it says right here, well, that's on the expensive side. You know, the average rent in that area might be $1,500 to $1,700, something like that. Now, this house is really nice. I would easily pay $2,500 even just to live in it myself. But if you were to go to them and say, I'll rent it for $2,500 and I'll do a 5-year lease, you could run and operate your business out of there for $2,500 a month for 5 years. The taxes and the insurance alone are going to cost you, $600 a month. So what are you really paying for rent? $1,900. That debt service on $400,000 is going to be about $1,900, or even. So the point is, you don't have to buy it if you don't want to. You can just lease it. But this is a website that can kind of give you those ideas. So I'm going to show you a before and after picture. Here's one of the main bathrooms in this home.
Man, that is awesome. You didn't touch that, right? You left that as is. Did you left that as is, right, Gene?
So,
Man, are
no,
you
just
hearing
a
me?
picture.
What's
But
going
here's what it
on?
looks like now.
Ah, you
So we
ruined
took
it.
this and we tore it all out and turned it into this. Now you can see on the bottom right there, that's what you call a roll-in shower. So literally you can roll in a wheelchair or walk right into the shower. And I just wanted to point that out to you because, you know, you don't need the big fancy vanity, and the shower in the corner isn't going to work for grandma. She can't, you know, get around that well. So you make it really easy for them. So it's a roll-in shower. But that's what it looks like. That's the before and after. Just wanted to give you a little idea. All right.
Nice.
Here's another one. This one is for sale. So this is one for sale. It's an assisted living facility, licensed for 10. It's about 3,500 square feet. I've been in to see this one twice. I didn't bother to even show it to the other guys on our last trip because the revenue on it, I think they have 7 people living in there. It's licensed for 10, but they're only booked to 7 right now. And I think they were getting maybe $20,000 a month total at this point. So they're asking $850,000 for it. So take the $490,000 one here that I'm talking about, right? Take this one and renovate this house, and let's say you put 100 into it, so now you're in for 6. These rooms are going to rent for $4,000 to $5,000 a month in this facility. There'll be 9 bedrooms and 7 baths when it's all said and done, and it's absolutely gorgeous inside. Where this one over here is about 1,300 square feet less. We're getting there. 1,300 square feet less, not in as desirable of an area, just doesn't even look as good from the front.
Not at all.
And they're getting less per person. So you can do really good and do really well. But here's a guy who's trying to take the house that he bought. And by the way, he bought the house for $247, put about 80 into it, and now he's trying to sell it with the business for $850. So try to flip it and make $200,000-300,000, but the revenue doesn't support that. The revenue that I'll have will more than support that, but not that one. So just wanted to point that out. And the last one I'll show you here, this is one that is, again, on the inexpensive side, $167,500. We did go out to see this one. It says 2,250 square feet, and it says assisted care facility. It formerly was an assisted living facility, but the license
that's this one.
Yeah. So the license has expired and so on, but it's all set up for it. Now, it's on the low end. This is kind of equivalent to that first house that I showed you, which was $230,000 with the business. This one is on a busy corner. Actually, I don't even know how they got this picture. They'd got to run over by 3 times.
Yeah.
It's probably a drive-by picture or something. Really busy corner, but the house is ready to go. And just to give you an idea, if you bought that for $150,000 and took the time to get the business up and running and fill it, you might be in it for $200,000 altogether because the real estate inside didn't need a lot. It was already set up for it. You could, for $200,000, you can have your business cash flowing $16,000, $17,000 a month and netting $4,000 to $5,000, $6,000 a month. Still a great investment. You know, you're not going to. When you think about what's the comparison to make $5,000 a month if you were to go out and buy a Subway franchise, it's going to cost you a lot more than that. You're going to be working 15, 18 hours a day, flipping sandwiches, helping nobody except giving them indigestion and, you know, whatever. So this is a lot more fun. And this house itself, again, we went in to see it. It was in decent shape, just a really busy area. So let me go through one to give you kind of a top-to-bottom view, and we'll look at the house and look at the numbers. This is one that I bought last May, so we're 10 months ago. So when you see this one here, it was called ADAGIO House, renamed it ADAGIO Gardens, and you'll see why in a minute. Here's what it looked like when we started. So we cut down all of the those barbarous, you know, Mexican palms right here. They're like spikes. Took them all down and put a couple of nicer ones in there. Cleaned up the front, did a lot of work. We actually did about $30,000 worth of renovation when it was all said and done. Windows, doors, interior, exterior, doing a lot of different things. But the home itself is licensed for 10. It was full when we got it. It's full to this day. In the backyard, you got a beautiful pool that nobody ever uses. We put in a gazebo out in the back and a pathway to it. On the right-hand side, there's a walkway. I'll show it to you there. A walkway to the right that goes to a new rose garden. We put in shade trees. So really trying to spruce it up and make it a comfortable place to be outside, so the garden area. Inside looks like a regular home. This is the one shared bedroom that we have. It's all private bedrooms except for this one. So you can see it's a normal-sized bedroom. It's about 13 feet wide and I think 19 feet long. 2 single beds or twin beds in it. Just very basic. That's what it is. Here's a basic private room. So it's a bed, a nightstand, a lamp, and I'm pointing that out because that's all you need. You need a bed, a nightstand, and a lamp. Now, for a bedroom, you also need a closet, right? That's just a given. TV is optional, but we have flat screen TVs in every room, but it's a pretty simple, basic bedroom. So let's go to the real things, the real picture that makes sense. This real estate was purchased for $450,000. I paid $50,000 for the business and $450,000 for the real estate. By the way, when I negotiated it, I negotiated to purchase everything, the real estate and the business, for $500,000. And I did it that way because I didn't know what the real estate would appraise for. I wanted it to appraise as much as possible, so the loan that I got would be more secure, if you will. But in this case, the real estate appraised for $450,000. So that's what you see on the HUD-1, which is the closing statement. I borrowed $516,000 secured by the real estate. So again, do the math. I borrowed more than the house is worth. Obviously, I was not using bank or traditional financing because you couldn't do that, right? So how do you deal with private investors, Sheen? How do you get them to do that? Well, that's part of what we teach you how to do. But there's a line at the bottom of the HUD-1 that most people never get the privilege of seeing. It's line 303 that says cash to borrower. This is where you get paid at the closing. So I got paid $66,153. Now, I didn't get to spend all that money. I'll show you exactly where it went in just a minute. So the real estate was $450,000, borrowed $516,000 for in loans, cash to borrowers $66,000 and change. Day one, cash flow on day one for the business was over $24,000 a month. Now again, licensed for 10, that means it was an average of $2,400 per person, which is lower than the national average by almost $1,000. So obviously room to increase rent. As people move on, we can increase rent, and that's exactly what we're doing. But the operating expenses for the business, about $14,000. Now actually the way they were operating it, it was closer to $12,000, but I gave the caregivers increases in pay. I bought better food and things because I want to operate it differently. It's my business, so I can treat people nicer. That's what I decided to do. So that leaves a net operating income, or NOI, of $10,000. The last thing that comes out is the debt service. So the debt service on the 516 is $4,000 a month. So that leaves $6,000 net per month. That's $72,000 net per year. Pause. This is a property that I put none of my own money into. Walked away from the closing with cash in pocket, and it's giving $6,000 a month in positive cash flow. That's cash now, cash flow, and if I decide to sell this just on its current operating basis, it's cash later too. But here's the projections. 12 months, we're getting close to this now, be $30,000 gross income. The operating expenses will remain the same. The net operating income will be about $16,000, so the gross income increase goes straight to the net. Debt service stays the same, just means the net increased by that full $6,000. So that's $144,000 per year. So here's a business that was fully operating. I was able to buy the business and the real estate, none of my own money, and positive cash flow of $6,000 to start, up to $12,000 within a year. That's pretty good, and that's what we're looking for. This is what I want to find and show you at the training so that you see exactly how it works. That's what I call serious cash flow. It's not buying one property and making a few $100 a month. So, Gene, what happened to that $66,000 and change? Where did it go? I mean, I showed it to you there, line 303 from the HUD-1. Where did that money go? Well, I said I paid $450,000 for the real estate, which left $50,000 for the business. So the business was the $50,000. But there was security deposits that some of the residents had paid. That gets credited to me at the closing. And not everybody paid on the first, so some people were crediting rent to me of $6,700, which means I actually got a credit at the closing of $24,760. So $50,000 was the price for the business, but I received credit of that $24,760, which means the net due to the seller was only $25,240. So let me go through the numbers this way. $450,000 for the real estate. $516,000 was the total funding. That left $66,000 cash to me. The $66,000 was used to buy the business for $50,000, which left $16,000. But I also received a net credit of $24,760, which means at the end of the day, wired to the account, they don't send checks anymore, $40,760. So that's cash now in the account. That's cash now, cash flow, and I could sell it, and there's cash later. Guys, this is something that every single one of you can do, and we just blew through this in like an hour. And if you're really serious about wanting to learn how to do this, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do exactly that. The fast track training coming up, there's an investment. What is the investment? And I'd say, well, what's the value? I've got two daughters that graduated from ASU, Arizona State University. Even if I paid the full boat, room and board, it's $100,000 for 4 years of college education. Did they get out with a signing bonus and a six-figure income? No. Some people can't even get a job, let alone get paid a bonus to start. So if I were to tell you that this is not 4 years of your life, it's not going to take 4 years and $100,000, but it's something where you could make 40 grand up front. You could make 72,000 a year, 144,000 a year, and you're not working 40, 60 hours. You might be working 5 or 10 hours a week. Would that be worth 50 grand, 100 grand? Absolutely. Absolutely. There's people, millions of them, that will spend that and much, much more in years of their life to get not a fraction of what I just described. But obviously it's not that. You know that. And I'm going to segue back to what we were saying there earlier. Pete and I have worked for other people, and we can name the names, but just about every big name out there who does real estate and does their bus trips and so on, and they'll charge $25,000, $35,000 to go out and do a trip that's not nearly as effective, let alone as entertaining and informative as what we do. And I used to be the one to go out and do the training. And they charge somebody, you, $35,000, and they pay me $5,000 to train you to do it. Where'd the other 30 grand go? To all the marketing and all the fees and expenses and so on. So here's what we decided to do. We said, you know what, we can do this, and if we do it on a group basis, we can keep the price low. $49.97, that live training in AZ. Pete, with Coast to Coast and Ivan, they do a discount for members and friends of members and yourself who are invited by a member and so on of $1,500. That means it's actually only $34.97. That's huge. But Pete, being who he is and how he works, he's going to give you a further discount than that. But I'm going to give you some websites. I'm going to give you some contact info, and I suggest you write this down immediately. C2CIgroup.com. C, the number 2, CIGROUP.com. When you go there, you're going to see a spot where you can actually get more information to sign in. There's a video there, and I'll take you there in just a minute so you can see exactly what it is. But I'm going to give you code words, so wait for it. So what will you learn? At that training itself, you're going to learn the best opportunities for assisted living facilities in any area. I'm going to show you where to find the right websites to go to for all the state licensing and requirements in your states throughout the country. How to determine if a property you own or you're looking at buying is right for an assisted living facility. We're going to go through all the criteria. Here's the best properties. Here's what you want. Here's what you don't want. I'm going to show you how to attract investors and partners, how to have that money come to you, and how to find the right team to make your life easy, the right caregivers, the right facility managers, financing, and so on, and how to fill your assisted living facilities with the highest paying clients, and how to do it with or without your own money. If you've got money, that's great, and if you don't, that's great. Either way, I'm going to show you how to do it. And then put you on the fast track so that you can get your first deal done within 3 to 6 months. I mean, we're talking by June, by August, have your first property up and running, cash flowing. You could retire at that point if that's what you want to do. One deal and be set for life. That's what you'll learn how to do. And when we go out in the field, it really becomes real. We keep the groups very small, so when we go out there and see these properties, it just makes it a lot easier when we're out in the properties to be able to talk about things, and we'll sit down at meals together and have a good time. By the way, when you go to C2CI Group, this is the screen you're going to see. There's a video right there. It's 3.5 minutes long. Watch it. You're going to see 4 or 5 people in a property that we're looking at as a potential assisted living facility on the field trip that we took, and they're going to tell you what their experience is and what they think about it. So listen to them. These are students just like yourself. On the right-hand side, it says first name, last name, state, and email. Very simple. Just put that in, click I'm ready, and it'll take you to the next screen. And on the next screen, there's going to be the opportunity. And by the way, yes, you can bring a spouse. Yes, you can bring a business partner. You can bring somebody with you to that live training itself. We do meals together. We're going to go kind of 12 to 5 the first day, then we go 9 to 5 the second day, and 9 to 5 the third day. But in the evenings, we tend to get together, go out, have a great time. We've done some awfully fun things. We've been to baseball games. We've been to barbecues. We've been to balloon festivals. We've been to all kinds of things. Arizona's a really fun place to do it. Easy to get in and out, by the way. The airport, easy to fly in and out. The hotel where we're going to be doing the presentation and training is right close to the airport. Don't even need a rental car.
Yeah, it's
but
really
when you
easy.
go to that, yeah, and when you go to the website itself, just fill that in, and as you do, it's going to ask you, do you have a code? And put in this code, EXPO, EXPO. When you put in that code, it's going to take that $34.97. We've already reduced it by $1,500, but it's going to take the $34.97 and reduce it by an additional $1,000. That makes it $24.97. And yes, that's for you and your partner. So $1,250. Now, That's per person, right? $24.97. If you bring somebody, great. You can split it with them. You decide what you want to do. Now, here's the deal, and I'm just going to be blunt with you. If this is something you're looking to do, this is the best bargain in town. You will not find anything better than this, period. As a matter of fact, you won't even find anybody else who's willing to share everything that I share with you on this training. That's just the blunt info. But here's the reality, and you need to do a reality check right now. If you're thinking about doing this and you're not willing to invest $2,500 into your education, the expense of the education you're about to go on then, it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars in money, time, effort, frustration. Save yourself a whole bunch and let me teach you in advance. And at the end of that $2,500 and 3 days of training, number one, you're going to learn a lot. Number two, you're going to have a lot of great contacts and connections. Maybe you don't even have to come up with any money yourself because somebody right there in the room is going to do that part for you. Or maybe you're just going to say, you know what, I'm the one who's got the money, and I just want to find the right person to partner with so they can do the work, and I'll just provide the finances. Either way, you're going to get what you're looking for, but you've got to put that effort and little investment into yourself to make it happen. So again, if this makes sense, that does include a partner. And again, if it makes sense to you, do it. There's really only one decision. You in or you out. You're going to do it or not. This isn't, oh, I'll do it someday. I'll do it when my schedule opens up, or I'll wait till they come to my town. I don't do it that way. You come to me. Why? Because that way I can show you running facilities that are being fixed up, ones that are available for sale. You can meet my realtor. You can meet private lenders. You can meet caregivers. You can meet licensed managers. You can meet all the people that you need to meet right then and there and get a full-blown experience right here. And it's an easy flight. Just get on the plane, come on out, do it. It's a great place to be. It's gorgeous right now. I was in New Jersey on the East Coast this past weekend. They're all worried about a snowstorm coming in, and I'm like, it's 80 degrees back home. There's no better place than home. Kind of felt like Dorothy. So here's the deal, guys. If you want to do good and do well, you know what to do. Go to this website, c2cigroup.com. Don't forget that code word is EXPO, E-X-P-O. This is your opportunity. Don't miss it. Pete, I appreciate you letting me share this with everybody once again. And, you know, they've got the date, they've got the price, they've got the encouragement. And I know that you want to, you know, give them a word of encouragement. So go ahead and do that.
Yeah. And obviously, guys, if you have any questions, please let us know. We can definitely answer anything, especially if you have anything right now. But the reality is, like Gene said, you know, there's been other companies that I even looked at as far as learning this, and they all wanted you to sign a non-disclosure after you were done, and you couldn't go and look at stuff in their area, and it was like crazy. It's like, you know, I'll teach you how to do it, but you can only do it in Alaska. Well, okay, that doesn't help me then, because that's not what I want. So now you're just charging me for education, but I can't really apply the information anywhere. And, you know, that's one of the other things that we do is, you know, we consider this a deposit, like a non-refundable deposit, basically saying that you come in and you come to the training and you actually find a deal you like and you want to go in on a deal with us and maybe fund one of those deals in JV, that actually gets applied to the deal. So there's all kinds of options. Our whole goal is to help you take action, period. That's our goal, is to help you take action in whatever form that is. And maybe that is JVing with us. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's you doing it on your own. Maybe it's you JVing with a partner that you meet there. But the reality is that this is your opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone and to go make something happen. So do it right now. Just go to C2CI Group and input your information and then put in the code word EXPO, E-X-P-O. It's that simple. If you have any questions, just go ahead and email us at Ivan, I-V-A-N, at C2CREIA.com. And it's that simple. I'm good to go. Gene, how about you?
I'm good. If anybody has any immediate questions, just type those right in. Pete will read them off to me, and I'll answer them. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure, and look forward to meeting those of you who are serious about taking action, and I'm there for you.
They said the first day is that a Friday? Is what I'm being asked. That's a Friday,
Yep.
Right?
It's a Friday, and we typically start at about noon time, so this way you can even fly in that morning and get started. So noon to 5, figure the first day, and that is a Friday.
Okay. And then they said, yes, if it's your, if you have a partner is going to be whoever you want your partner to be. So it doesn't mean that they has to be married to you or anything else. You can have a partner, whoever that is that you want to bring, even if it's your, 15-year-old child, a daughter or son, that's okay with us too. We like that. In fact, we encourage that type of thing because we want to help, change the world. So absolutely. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being on tonight. Gene, thank you for being on. And with that, I will go ahead and end this, and everybody have a great night. Okay.